Your dog follows you into the bathroom. They stand outside the bedroom door. They track every step you take through the house. You probably think it's affection, maybe clinginess, maybe just a habit they picked up somewhere along the way. You are wrong. As a medical doctor, I review every piece of content on this channel for scientific accuracy. And what's actually happening when your dog follows your every move is rooted in neuroscience, evolutionary biology, and a survival logic that existed long before love had a name. Today, I'm going to show you 7 reasons your dog refuses to let you out of their sight. Stay for point 5. It will permanently change how you see this. Dogs are not humans with fur. They are wolves shaped by thousands of years of domestication. And the nervous system running your dog today was built for a very different world. A world where isolation meant death, where every movement carried information, where the group was everything. Understanding what follows starts there. Sign 1. The vulnerability instinct. Let's start with the behavior that confuses owners the most. Following you into the bathroom. To you, the bathroom is the one room in the house that belongs to you alone. To your dog's genetic memory, it is the most dangerous room you can enter. In the wild, an animal is never more exposed to predators than during elimination. Their posture is compromised. Their senses are pulled inward. They cannot immediately run or fight back. Wolves and wild canines evolved a solution to this problem: the pack. When one member is in a vulnerable position, another stands guard. They watch the perimeter. They stay alert to anything that moves. Your dog does not know what a lock is. They do not know what a bathroom is. What their nervous system registers is this: you have isolated yourself in a small enclosed space, blocked the exit, and made yourself completely exposed. When they push the door open, or sit pressed against the other side of it, they are not violating your privacy. They are covering your blind spot. They are communicating something in the oldest language they have. I have the perimeter. You are safe. That is not clinginess. That is a guard posting themselves exactly where their instinct tells them you need one most. And it gets more specific than that. Because point 2 is not about where you go. It's about knowing you're about to go there before you do. Sign 2. The micro-movement reader. Have you ever noticed your dog is already on their feet before you've even stood up? You shift your weight in the chair. You let out a specific kind of sigh. You glance toward the hallway, and your dog is already moving. We assume they startle easily. The truth is far more precise. Dogs are the most sophisticated readers of human micro-movements on the planet. They do not just watch what you do. They study the exact sequence of muscle contractions that happen before you do it. Researchers studying canine attention have found that dogs track human gaze direction, postural shifts, and vocal patterns simultaneously, building a predictive model of your behavior that updates in real time. To your dog, you are not just a person. You are an environment. You control access to the outside world, to food, to safety, to everything that matters. Since they cannot ask you what your plans are, they must rely entirely on predictive observation. They follow you because they are constantly gathering data, mapping your patterns, learning that a specific walking pace toward the kitchen means food is coming, that a different posture moving toward the front door means departure is imminent. Following you is how they stay ahead of the narrative. It is how they convert an unpredictable human world into something manageable. Not love, not neediness. Data collection in service of survival. And what they do with that data once they have it brings us to point 3. And it is happening inside their body right now. Sign 3. The core regulator. There is a critical difference between a dog who follows you out of anxiety and a dog who follows you out of regulation. If your dog paces, whines, and cannot settle the moment you change rooms, that is separation anxiety, a nervous system in active distress. But if your dog simply walks into whatever room you are in and immediately lies down on the floor and goes to sleep, that is something else entirely. That is co-regulation. Mammals regulate their own internal states, heart rate, breathing, stress hormones, by being in close proximity to a trusted figure. Human infants do this with their mothers. The research on this in dogs is consistent and striking. Studies measuring cortisol levels in dogs found that proximity to their bonded human produces measurable drops in stress hormones, even without direct physical contact. Your dog's body literally feels different when they are in your orbit. Their cortisol falls, their breathing slows, their nervous system downregulates. They do not follow you into the home office because the office is interesting. They follow you because your physical presence is the switch that turns their internal alarm system off. They are not looking for entertainment. They are not looking for attention. They are carrying their regulation system with them. And that system for them is you. That is not a small thing. That is the most fundamental form of trust one living being can place in another. And point 4 reveals how deep that trust goes, because it operates at a level most owners never think about. Sign 4. The information funnel. Imagine living in a world where you cannot read the signs, cannot speak the language, and where loud and inexplicable things happen around you every day without warning or explanation. That is the daily reality of your dog. The delivery driver dropping a heavy package outside, a car backfiring in the street, raised voices from a neighboring apartment. To navigate this world without losing their mind, dogs rely on a central information funnel, and you are at the exact center of it. When a strange sound happens and your dog looks at you, they are not looking for comfort in the way a child might look to a parent for a hug. They are running a threat assessment. They are reading your face, your shoulder tension, the speed and direction of your walk. If you move to the window calmly and then continue what you were doing, they're brain logs. The primary information source is unbothered, threat level 0. If you freeze or move quickly, the log says something different. They shadow you because you are their translator. Without you in the room, every sound is an unprocessed threat. With you present, the world is filtered, interpreted, and explained. They are not following your body. They are following your judgment. Your calm is their data. Your reaction is their reality check. Your presence is the difference between a world that makes sense and one that doesn't. And that dependency goes further back than any of us realize. Because point 5, the one I told you to wait for, gets to the root of all of it. If this is already shifting how you see your dog, subscribe. We do this every time. Find the real answer behind the behavior everyone thinks they understand. Comment below with your dog's name and tell me, which room do they follow you into most? I read everyone. Sign 5. The disappearance of the pack. We forget, because they sleep on expensive beds and wear designer collars, that our dogs are wolves in domestic clothing. In a natural canine structure, isolation does not mean inconvenience. Isolation means death. A canine separated from their group is entirely exposed, vulnerable to larger predators, unable to hunt effectively, cut off from every survival mechanism that evolution built them for. Evolution is slow to rewrite survival rules. Extraordinarily slow. When you leave a room and close the door, your rational mind says, I am 3 meters away in the next room. Canine survival logic says something entirely different. The group has fragmented. The visual connection is broken. The pack is no longer consolidated. For many dogs, following you from the living room to the kitchen is not about being clingy or emotionally immature. It is an ancient imperative running beneath every conscious behavior, whispering the mathematics that kept their ancestors alive for thousands of years. Together, we survive. Apart, we are at risk. By keeping you in their line of sight, they are satisfying a primal drive that has nothing to do with your personality, your training approach, or how much time you spend with them. It is older than any of that. You are the most valuable number in an equation that was written long before either of you existed, and the mechanics of how they track you, how they always seem to know exactly where you are even when you haven't made a sound, brings us to point 6, and it will change the way you think about moving through your own home. Sign 6. The scent gradient. Dogs do not navigate the world the way we do. Their olfactory bulb is roughly 40 times larger than ours relative to brain size. When we move through a space, we see a room. When your dog moves through that same space, they are reading an invisible three-dimensional map of concentration and decay, a world built entirely out of scent. When you sit on the sofa, your scent pools there. When you get up and walk to the kitchen, the strongest, freshest concentration of your scent moves with you. The trail you leave behind begins to fade almost immediately. For your dog, moving toward the highest concentration of your scent is as automatic and instinctive as a human moving from darkness toward light. They are not following your footsteps. They are following the living edge of your presence, the freshest, most concentrated signal of the one thing that means comfort, safety, and dopamine all at once. When you are in the room, that signal is everywhere around you. When you leave, it begins to thin. And a thinning scent signal is a nervous system prompt that says, reorient, relocate, reestablish proximity. They are not choosing to follow you in any deliberate sense. They are responding to a biological pull as fundamental as hunger. You move. The safety moves with you. So they move with it, every time. And then there are the dogs who suddenly change. And that change is the most important thing to pay attention to. Sign 7. The sudden shift. Everything we have covered today describes a dog running their normal programming. But what happens when that programming changes sharply? If your dog has always followed you and suddenly stops, pay attention. If they never used to shadow you and suddenly cannot leave you alone, pay attention. Major changes in proximity behavior rarely happen without a reason, and the reason is almost always worth investigating. A dog who suddenly withdraws, who stops following you into rooms they used to trail you into without a second thought, may be hiding discomfort. Pain changes proximity behavior. Illness changes proximity behavior. Age-related cognitive decline changes proximity behavior. Dogs instinctively conceal vulnerability. It is the same survival logic that drives everything else we have discussed today. A dog pulling away is not being distant. They may be telling you something their body cannot say in any other language. On the other side, a dog who suddenly becomes intensely attached, following you into rooms they previously ignored, pressing against you more than usual, refusing to settle unless they are physically touching you, may be coping with something they do not understand, a stressor they cannot process, an internal change they cannot explain. Either direction, the behavior is data. It is your dog communicating through the only channel they have. The shift in proximity is the message. Your job is not to correct it. It is to read it. And reading it starts by knowing what normal looks like, which, after today, you do. You asked at the start whether your dog was spying on you. Here is the real answer. Yes. But not for the reasons you thought. They are watching your micro-movements to predict your next action. They are reading your reactions to calibrate their own threat assessment. They are tracking your scent to stay close to the one signal that tells their nervous system everything is safe. They are not following you because they are needy or poorly trained or emotionally dependent in a way that needs fixing. They are following you because their brain, shaped by thousands of years of evolution, has run the numbers and concluded that the safest, most valuable place in their entire world is exactly where you are standing right now. That is not a burden. That is the most complete form of trust one living being can extend to another. If this changed the way you see your dog today, like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, which of these 7 reasons surprised you most?